both an honor and a privilege to stand before you today to present the National Ordinance on the Basic Payment Account. This ordinance represents an important step forward improving financial inclusion and protecting the rights of every resident of St. Martin to access basic banking services. The objective of this legislation is to enhance access to digital payment services for natural persons. Specifically, it aims to ensure that individuals who may not qualify for a standard payment account are still able to conduct essential cashless payment transactions, thereby promoting greater financial inclusion and participation in our increasingly digital economy. I would like to take a moment to clarify that this specific ordinance applies exclusively to natural persons, not to businesses. The focus of this legislation is on ensuring that individuals with a vested interest in St. Martin, particularly those who may currently face barriers to accessing financial services, are able to open and maintain a basic payment account. The draft National Ordinance on the Basic Payment Account is rooted in the broader goal of promoting financial inclusion for all residents, and I repeat, residents of St. Martin. Ensuring access to essential banking services is not only a matter of convenience, but a critical component of participating in a modern digital economy. This ordinance aligns with key priorities outlined in the governing accord, which emphasizes the importance of accessible, transparent, and fair financial services for individuals. The development of the draft National Ordinance on the Basic Payment Account is grounded in three key elements: a parliamentary motion, the strategic vision of our central bank, and evidence-based research on financial access in our community. The motion. I would like to provide some context regarding motion number 8, which was adopted on January 21st, 2022, and submitted by the then Member of Parliament, Mr. Rolando Bryson, and approved by the then Members of Parliament. The motion outlined 4 key principles. 1, the right to have a basic bank account opened within a reasonable time. 2, rules by which the banking relationship can be terminated. 3, rules for publication, transparency, and limitations related to bank charges. And 4, the creation of a Consumer Banking Protection Bureau. The motion resolved that the Minister of Finance, as the shareholder representative of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin, instruct the CBCS to prioritize the vetting and/or drafting of consumer banking protection legislation, ensuring that the 4 key principles mentioned above are addressed. The CBCS was requested to submit a draft within 90 days of receiving the instruction. While I fully acknowledge the intent and importance of this motion, I would like to clarify that the current National Ordinance on the Basic Payment Account specifically addresses only the first 2 points of the motion: the right to a bank account and the rules governing termination of the banking relationship. As for the remaining 2 points regarding bank charges and the creation of a Consumer Banking Protection Bureau, we have reached out to the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin for an update on the status of these matters. With regard to the 3rd point in motion number 8, which concerns the regulation of bank charges, transparency, and publication requirements, I would like to note the following. These matters are being addressed through 2 draft legislations: the National Ordinance on Oversight and the National Ordinance on Financial Market Infrastructure, FMI. These laws will enable the central bank to issue binding regulation, AVVs, on topics such as bank fees, transparency, and reporting standards. Both drafts have been submitted to the Council of Advice, and the further report, or the NADA reporting, are currently being finalized. Once completed, these will be forwarded to Parliament for consideration. These legislative efforts collectively support the motion's objectives and reflect our commitment to strengthening oversight and transparency in the financial sector. This clarification is important to manage expectations around what this ordinance intends to regulate and what remains under discussion or development.
.24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
There are slides regarding teacher absenteeism and credentials. Are there any slides on the promotion of teachers? How can we stimulate this? Is data collected? School boards oversee the promotion of teachers in their employment, and this data is not collected for use in the State of Education report. What are the plans moving forward with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of VSA regarding the synergy of early childhood and further streams education? The Ministry of ECYS and the Ministry of VSA are working together to strengthen the continuity between early childhood development, ECD, and primary education. The goal is to ensure that early learning programs align with primary education, helping children develop the cognitive, social, and emotional skills necessary for a smooth transition through the education system. To achieve this, both ministries are collaborating to align curriculum frameworks, teaching methodologies, and developmental assessments in the ECD sector. A key step in this effort is the recent approval of the ECD policy framework, which lays the foundation for strengthening early childhood services. Additionally, ECD minimum standards have been developed to enhance the quality of early learning programs. Moving forward, the Ministry of ECYS is in the process of hiring an ECD expert to develop said ECD curriculum guide. This guide will provide structured guidance for early learning and ensure alignment with primary education. Other key strategies include curriculum alignment, teacher training, parental engagement, standardized assessments, and revision of the daycare ordinance. The ministries remain committed to implementing these measures to ensure a seamless transition for young learners and improve overall educational outcomes. What are the steps being taken to take that process of promoting teachers to the next level? The ministry is taking several steps to enhance the promotion of teachers by improving career development pathways and addressing structural challenges within the profession during the coming years. Key initiatives include the Professional Development Program, PDP, launched in 2021 in collaboration with USM and UVI. This program does provide ongoing training and certification to help teachers meet legal qualifications and advance in their careers. 2, research on career progression. So conducting research to identify ways to improve career growth opportunities for teachers, ensuring clear advancement pathways. Updating the function book. So there are plans in place to revise the function book, which defines teachers' roles and responsibilities and aligns with career development goals. Exploring compensation changes. The ministry is assessing potential adjustments to the compensation structure to provide fair and competitive remuneration, supporting career growth. And strategic marketing for teacher recognition. Efforts are being made to enhance the perception of the teaching profession, raising its value and encouraging career progression. The ministry is in the process of discussing these possibilities to realize these ambitions in the coming years with the TWO. Next question, as it pertains to stimulating teachers to further their education, how is the minister planning to combine that with the tier system and potential promotions moving forward? The ministry has plans for the development of a licensure and certification system that links professional development to promotions and salary increases during the course of the next couple of years, and is seeking support from TWO to actually realize this project. What are the plans regarding the program for gratification of teachers? Although, in this case of the subsidized schools, it is the responsibility of the competent authority, the government of St. Martin already funds gratification for teachers of the funded schools who are eligible for gratification. The school boards provide information on staff eligible for gratification annually with their requests for funding for the upcoming school year. The ministry reviews this information and processes the request for gratification accordingly. The funded school boards, in turn, are responsible for making these funds available to the respective staff members. MP commented that data of the teachers can be broader, that data collected as it pertains to satisfaction of the teachers, it's not every year, but does the minister plan on doing a survey like that every year? So the satisfaction of teachers is influenced by various factors such as work environment, work conditions, relations, and the content of work. And this is indeed the case with any employee satisfaction survey. At this stage, there were no plans on doing a survey on teacher satisfaction every year. In private sector, there are different ranges that you can do these types of satisfaction surveys. However, we are in discussion to see if it is something that can be run every year. Currently, though, agreements have been made because public education teachers are taken up in government's own employee satisfaction survey, and the intention is to repeat that after 3 years, so the next will be 2026 by the Ministry of General Affairs. For the subsidized school boards, however, they are actually responsible for gauging that for themselves. So I can encourage them, and I do encourage them, to develop some surveys and implement improvements based on their outcomes, especially since retaining and attracting qualified teachers and other educational professionals remains challenging. Okay. Based on how much money is spent on the buses every year, the former minister talked about a hub system. I would like to know, seeing that that would have an impact on the bus system, is that being taken up in any plans moving forward? What ramifications would that have for costs in the budget? The current focus of the ministry, through you, Mr. Chairman, is on the implementation of a fleet tracking system, a student monitoring system, and the full implementation of the newly introduced service level agreement between government and the bus operators. Once the monitoring system has been fully implemented, parties will engage in consultation with partner ministries, including TEAD, Justice, and VRAMI, to explore further possibilities regarding a hub system. But at this time, there is no plan on paper for that. What is the synergy between NEPA and study finance? What is the minister's views and plans? In accordance with the applicable study financing legislation and policy, study allowances are awarded to eligible students attending NEPA. The study allowances were increased to cover the cost of NEPA school fee, which is much higher than compared to SBO institutions regionally. This notwithstanding the fact that NEPA is fully subsidized by the government of St. Martin. The MP asks what is my view and plan. I'm a strong believer, and I believe this question is repeated later on by another MP, but I'm a strong believer in vocational education. I do believe that it powers our economy if we look at what our economy is based on. So it's my intention moving forward as well to consult with all stakeholders, private sector, NEPA, and the Department of Education and Study Financing to see how we can strengthen the output of NEPA. MP further asks, what are those numbers? How many students graduated through NEPA by way of study finance, and how many were not accepted but denied? In 2020, 9 students were granted study financing. In 2021, 6 were granted, none denied, 1 graduate. In 2022, 13 were granted, none denied, 2 graduated. In 2023, 7 were granted, none denied, 1 graduated. And in 2024, 7 granted, none denied, and 3 graduated. Sorry, for a total of 7 graduates out of 42 study financing recipients for NEPA. And we can have a discussion based on that particular ROI. However, there are different factors that impact the students at NEPA, even if they receive study financing. Many are working full-time, working 1 or 2 jobs, and are unable to sustain actual attendance to the program. So this is one of those further conversations to be had as well with private sector, because they cannot continue to ask for qualified individuals without also giving some leniency in terms of attending school to become a qualified individual.
The people of Trinidad and Tobago have spoken, and their collective voices have loudly signaled a desire for change following the 2025 general elections as the United National Congress has been re-elected to government. Prime Minister-elect Senior Counsel Kamala Persad-Bissessar dedicated her victory to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, including senior citizens and public servants. She noted that the people of Trinidad and Tobago who have toiled and kept the faith deserved better.
This victory is to reopen the Children's Hospital. This victory is to reopen Petrotrin. This victory is to once again give laptops to our children. This victory is to create over 50,000 jobs. And so, the victory is yours.
She said the UNC has fought a clean campaign focused on policies, plans and programs after years of listening to citizens and taking note of their wants, needs, hopes and desires.
It is now that the real work starts. From day one, we'll be focused on delivering on our promises, working to make every citizen's life better, brighter, more prosperous. I give you the assurance tonight that no one will be left behind. No one will be left behind. Because when UNC wins, everybody wins.
According to Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, the UNC will be with all of Trinidad and Tobago each step of the way over the next 5 years and beyond.
You have an elected people-centered government for the people, by the people, and with the people. So permit me again to say thank you. Thank you. Let us rejoice and celebrate this day in our history. This has been a tremendous blessing. And once again, I thank you, Trinidad and Tobago.
During her celebratory speech, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar thanked every UNC candidate and the candidates of the Coalition of Interests for their extremely hard work. Jason John, TTT News.
time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, has lost the later stage of his court battle over the level of security protection he receives in the UK. His taxpayer-funded protection was downgraded 5 years ago. The Duke says that as a result, it's too dangerous for him to bring his family to the UK, citing what he says is unjustified and inferior treatment. The three judges at the Court of Appeal rejected that today. They disagreed with his challenge, the three judges there, and they said that his appeal against the previous High Court decision would be turned down. This is what Sir Geoffrey Voss had to say in court as he summed up the decision.
The decisions taken in the decision letter and subsequently were taken, I said in my judgment, as an understandable and perhaps predictable reaction to the Duke of Sussex having stepped back from royal duties and having left the UK to live principally overseas. So the conclusion, in my judgment, with which my colleagues, Lord Justices Bean and Edis, agreed, was that the Duke of Sussex's appeal would be dismissed.
Yes, Sir Geoffrey said the Duke of Sussex's arguments were powerful and moving, and it was plain that he felt badly treated by the system, but he could not say that Prince Harry's grievance translated into a legal argument for a challenge. Well, let's speak now to royal commentator and journalist Afia Hagan. Afia, good to have you with us on BBC News. What do you think the implications of this judgment are?
Well, this is going to be hugely disappointing for Prince Harry. We know how serious he was about this particular court case. I mean, he came to the UK for the two-day hearing, which took place last month. And this is going to be really disappointing for him. It's also going to have implications over whether he comes back to the UK with his family. We have seen him make quick trips. Like I said, he was here for that two-day hearing last month. And we've seen him make quick trips to the UK by himself, but without his wife, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and without his children, Lilibet and Archie. He feels that it's not safe enough for them to travel with him. And that means that he probably won't come back to the UK with his family for the foreseeable future. He might decide to take this further. He needs permission from the High Court to do that. He may decide to appeal and take it to the Supreme Court. We haven't heard anything from him yet, but it's very early in Los Angeles at the moment, so we haven't had a statement from him. But it's going to be disappointing for him, certainly. And it means that he probably won't bring his family to the UK because he feels that it's not safe enough.
Yeah, exactly. He said, hasn't he, that he wants his children to feel at home in the UK, but said exactly what you've just quoted, Afia. It's not possible to keep them safe when they visit the country. But, you know, given that desire that he has for his children to connect with their heritage and what you know of him, do you think it's likely, therefore, that he will try to appeal or seek permission to appeal this decision and take it to the Supreme Court?
This was a journey for him that was very, very personal. So I could see a situation where he would decide to seek permission from the High Court, like you said, and take this to the Supreme Court. Because when you think about it, it's his children, like you so rightly said, not being able to know their heritage, where they're from, and also huge parts of his family. You know, he hasn't been in the UK with his children since June 2022, which means they haven't spent time with King Charles III or with his brother or any other members of that side of the family. And so that's got to be weighing quite heavily on his mind, I'm sure. And so I can see a situation where he would take this further to ensure that he can bring his children to the UK and bring them here safely if he felt that that judgment would go in his favour.
Yeah, and one can only imagine that if he can't or finds it more difficult to actually visit the UK, whether him as an individual or with his family, then clearly those possibilities of reconnecting with the rest of the family are diminished.
Yes, they absolutely are diminished if he feels that he can't be here and can't be here safely. And let's remember when we're talking about Prince Harry and his wife and his children and their security, you know, it's downgraded from what they were used to when they were working royals. But also, I think what should have been taken into account here, and perhaps what hasn't been taken into account, even though the judge said that there were powerful and moving arguments for his security to be back to the levels it was, he does face different types of threats that other members of the royal family perhaps don't, because he has served in Afghanistan and written about it, and also because of the racist element of the threats that have been made against himself and his son Archie, as well as Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. You know, we've got people that have been convicted and imprisoned for making those threats against him, calling him a race traitor, threatening Prince Archie, and those perhaps are not being taken into account when his security is being judged on this case-by-case basis. And that's really what he's pushing for, that perhaps the threats levelled against him differ from other members of the royal family, so the security he had before would be sufficient to try and counter those threats. But if he doesn't have that security, if he doesn't have the measures that he needs to counter those threats, then yes, absolutely, it's going to be very difficult for him to bring his family to the UK, and therefore very difficult to build bridges if that's something that he wants to do with the rest of the family.